Okay. Got everything set up. Oh. Oh my gosh. I will have this set up one day. Hey everybody, it is India with Fashion Home Life by E. We're talking about management. And it's been 2 years since almost 2 years since I stopped being a team lead. And I had been a team lead for I think 8 or 9 years out of my 13-year career at the company that I work for, and realized that, oh my God, well, recently I realized that I was reflecting back on management and the things that I had to do because we're in review cycle time. And that's why I decided to record this video. So let's go ahead and get started. The expectation for the managers was the same as far as billable numbers go. The billable, we're kind of like, if you think about like how lawyers bill time to their clients, we work the same way, even though I'm not a lawyer. But that's the easiest way I can explain it to people so that if someone outside can understand. And with that said, even though I was a manager and I had direct reports, I had to hit the same billable numbers that my direct reports had to hit, in addition to the other duties of being a manager. It wasn't like some companies have where you are operational, and that means that maybe you're not expected to bill as much time because you have other operational things that you're doing, whether that's improving other areas of the business. We were doing all of it. And my company was going through a restructuring of the organization, where they didn't want as many managers. On average, the folks in my area had, what do you call it? On average, the folks in my area would have, like, probably I would say between 3 to 6 direct reports. The higher ups wanted to have that be a more people under the bandwidth of a manager. So instead of that many, you were going up to one manager with maybe 10 to 12 direct reports. With that exchange, though, that manager would not be expected to have the same billable numbers that their direct reports would have. So, for example, if their direct reports was expected to spend, let's say, 70% of their time billing to clients, if you were a manager and you had 10 to 12 direct reports, that means that maybe you're spending other time being operational, developing your team, and you only need to spend 30% of your client time billing versus being at the same number as a direct report. That was definitely a good thing, and I did like that opportunity to kind of be less client facing. And but the number, that means that with more direct reports, that means there's less managers that need to be a manager, basically. And my director felt like it would be more detrimental to my team because my team heavily relies on me. The business heavily relies on me. And if I were to pull back, then the business part, the sales part, that type of operational side of the area that I was over would suffer with me pulling back to become a manager and not be basically on the floor or in front of the clients as much. And that was the reason why I did not get selected. And I was a little disappointed with that decision, but 2 years out, I'm happy that I'm no longer a manager. And that's what I wanted to talk about now. One of the reasons is the weight of others. When you are a manager, at least for me in my experience, when I would hear things like news come down the pipeline, I'm thinking about immediately what that means to me. What does that mean for my team? Especially when you work for someone else, people are going to make decisions that you may not always agree with. And even though you may not always agree with it, you still have to be the messenger, the talking point, the kind of, basically that, for your team members, right? So if people are upset with a decision, it's not to say you should be the horn that says, "Oh, this is the best decision ever," if you don't agree with it. But at the same time, if you have team members that, or your direct reports that are like, "I don't like it for X, Y, and Z," as a manager, you'd have to say, well, I understand, but this is what we have to do. So hopefully that's a easier way to explain what I'm saying here because I'm trying to find my words and I cannot find them. The other, I just talked about that. Yep. So I combined the two. I had notes, which is the weight of others, having to think about what does that mean? What does this person need? Like you're always having to stretch yourself past and as well as do your job. And also, parroting or pushing the messaging of the higher corporation message and drive people to, follow those standards or those changes or whatever they are. So those two are things that I don't necessarily have to worry about. And I do feel relieved to not have to do those. Another thing, what I found is trying to not juggle the professionalism line, but basically you're always aware of it. And that's the thing. What I mean by that is you want to be relatable to your direct reports, your peers, but you also want to be professional. And there's an extra barrier if you're their manager too. For example, I would work projects with my team. So I was like the kind of advising lead person that they would come to with questions, but I also was their manager as well. And that was an extra layer on top of it, but really just trying to navigate being myself, having people be comfortable with me, also keeping that level of respect and professionalism there as I'm your manager, and I need to make sure I operate in a way that, or don't say anything that then I have to turn around the next week and say, well, even though I said it's the dumbest thing in the world, I said you need to do it, like, so having to juggle all of that is complex and it's a lot and a big task to always have to deal with, and I feel like that extra barrier I don't have to worry about with my team. Never that I would be unprofessional or anything like that, but it's just an extra weight of something I don't have to kind of feel like I need to juggle and always manage. Also, having to, when there are decisions, we already have a complex job that we have in the first place, but there are certain things as a manager where you also have to think long range about how certain things will look, how certain things will work out, how they'll play out. And they don't give you a handbook for that. It's really you having your professional experience, being a critical thinker, being a thorough thinker, also being someone who is just able to kind of think about scenarios in different ways to factor in how that needs to be a decision or the messaging you need to make. And that's a heavy task and a constant task you always have to worry about. Hold on a second, my husband's calling. Hello.
Yeah, you ate lunch already?
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, you on the way back?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm in the recording. I'll call you back. All right. I thought I had that thing on silent, but I'm on my lunch break, so that's why it's not on silent. But usually it is on during my lunch. Anyway, um, but it's
Anyway,
just weird things where you're having to juggle and figure out whether it's the right move, and you may not always get it right. But those are some of the things that come along with management activities. And I one of the other reasons why I'm happy about this as well is I'm pretty established in my career, and I'm at the point where I want to get paid well. I want to kind of coast in my job, in my job, for lack of a better word, but basically like still have some of those little challenges, but challenges in a good way, like, right, challenge me mentally, challenge me creatively so I can figure out how to do things that I enjoy doing in my daily day-to-day job. But also I don't want to have to worry about other people, all of the things that I just said. I don't want to have to deal with the complexities of being a manager or feeling like I need to climb the ladder to that next step. And that was, like I said, a conversation that I had with my husband recently because he was saying to me like, "Oh, I think you're on the director track," and I actually wanted to move in that direction, and then I thought about it and realized I want to be able to continue to do a good job at my job for what I'm doing, and since I've been doing it for a while, I'm really good at it. I also just want to get paid well for what I do, which I'm blessed to be in that spot as well. And that gives me the freedom and the window to be able to have this channel here that I'm starting with, that I've started, where I can have hair accessories that I am making. I can do content creation and things like that. And it allows me to do those things instead of spending my weekends trying to figure out my new job or put out a new fire or something like that. And that's where I want to be right now. And I'm happy with that. I admittedly, because I am an ambitious person, have recently thought about, oh my gosh, I thought about all the people I started with, or, I randomly thought to myself, when people look at my title, they're gonna say, oh my gosh, she's still with that group. Is she still at the same position? But that doesn't matter. I don't care what other people think. What am I happy with is the biggest thing that I had to remind myself. And this is where I want to be right now. It gives me the freedom and flexibility to build a small business on the side, and I'm happy about that. I People still come to me for things at work, and I am in a spot where, like I said, I still have things that can challenge me and stretch me. Maybe not challenge me as much as when I was newer in certain areas, but I still have enough where I can do a good job, make a significant impact at work, and get paid well for it, and also have my evenings and my weekends to be able to do things outside of my job, and I'm very happy about that. Those are my I'm why I'm happy that I'm no longer a manager. Hopefully some of that is helpful for you, and definitely make sure to ask me some questions down below. Bye.